So welcome to the area computation class. Now, if you look at our traverse operation 5, you see that we arrived at coordinates for pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, and pillar 4 as we run the computations and the final coordinates. Now, the next thing is to calculate the area covered by the plot 1, 2, 3, 4, or rather the plot that has between 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now let us assume that those pillar 1, 2, 3, and 4 are as represented here in this diagram as a four-sided figure. Now it will require the square meter for this particular quadrilateral. You can look at how we derive the area for it. And mind you, the area will be in the unit will be square meters or hectares. Knowing fully well that 10,000 square meters is the same thing as 1 hectare. So look at the diagram very well. So we are going to use this diagram to derive the formula for area. We need the area of this dotted quadrilateral. So we are going to use the area of a trapezium. And you remember the area of a trapezium is half. If you have a trapezium like this, here this is H, and this is A, and this is B. You have this as half of H into A plus B. That's the formula for trapezium. So we are going to be using this in deriving the area of the shaded figure. Now look at it. The area of the shaded figure will now be this area in green. E2, 2, 3, E3 plus E3, 3, 4, E4, those ones in green, minus E2, 2, 1, E1, this one in red, minus E1, 1, 4, E4. So once we subtract this red from the larger green, it gives us the one in the shaded figure. So let's quickly relate it to each other. Now, look at it very well. And let me put it somewhere else so that you can, I hope you have copied it on where it was. Now, the larger green will now be trapezium A will now be half of E2, E1, E3, E4, right? So that will now be half of E3 minus E2. That's the height. Then multiply by N3 plus N2. Right? That plus half of E4 minus E3 into N4, N3 plus N4. N3 plus N4. Now, minus, so this time around, You must be fast in your mathematics so that your minuses will not cross each other. Minus the one in red. The first one in red is minus half of E1 minus E2. That's N1 plus N2 minus, you are still going to minus the second rate, minus half of E4 minus E1 into N4 plus N1. So take care, this one minus, they are the ones in red. This plus, they are the one in green. Now let us try and expand it. This gives us what? You see this half can come out and come and join here. 2a will now be what? Expand this to give you E3 N3 plus E3 N2 minus E2 N3 minus E2 N2. Now let's expand this plus E4 N3 plus E4 N4 minus E3 N3 minus E3 N4. Now let's expand this. Take this minus into consideration. Minus E1 N1 minus E1 N2. This is supposed to be minus, this now turn to plus. E2 N1 minus and minus turn to plus E2 N2. Now go to this also, minus E4 N4 minus E4 N1. Now this minus will turn to plus E1 N4 plus E1 N1. Now with this, let us cancel those ones that are you see, E1 N1 will cancel. E2 N2 will go and cancel itself. E3 N3 will cancel. Then E4 N4 will look for its counterpart and cancel. Now leaving us with this 2a now turns to, now look at it, E3 A2 E4 E3 E1 E2. Now let me start with E1 into bracket N4. Where is another E1 minus N2. So I've taken care of this. Now let me look for E2 plus, where is the second E2? Here. So plus E2 into bracket N1 minus N3. So I've also solved this. Where is my E3? Go to E3 and E3. So plus E3 into bracket N2 minus N4. I've also solved this. Now remaining E4 into bracket what? N3 minus N1. N3 minus N1. So with this now, we can summarize this and say this is E1 into N4 minus N2 plus E2 into bracket N1 minus N3 plus E3 into bracket N2 minus N4 plus E4 into bracket N3 minus N1. So in short, we can now say that this is the same thing as summation of in fact I want to give you this. When by the time you do a five-figure solution, you now be able to draw analogy on what and how this can be. But let me give you a shortcut, a very shortcut, very good one that you can now. So if you have a listing of your easting and nodding. We have a listing of your easting and nodding. Okay, let's put it as we are here. We have nodding and easting, so we can reverse it so that for continuity. Now, let's say this is how we have our coordinates as we have derived them from the field. How do you quickly get this? Not difficult. Look at it. Follow me as I go now. E1, E2, E3, E4. What you simply have to do is you can now say this is E4, that's the last one, and put E1 here. That's the first one. Then you have something like this. You have something like this. So 2A will now be what? N1 into E2 minus E4 plus N2 into E3 minus E1 plus N4 into plus N3 into what? E4 minus E2 plus N4 into E1 minus E3. Now, in the same way, you can do the other way around, which is also, let me clean this upper one. I hope you have you can also do things like E1, N1, E2, N2, E3, N3, E4, N4. But remember I said you put the last one here, N1, put the last one here, N4. So you can also do what you have done there. And then if you do it this way, it will give you 2A. One of them will give you a minus, so you reject the minus. That's the. So 2A will now be what? E1 into N4, N2 minus N4. You go from bottom to the top, plus E2 into N3 minus N1 plus E3 into N4 minus